Influencers. You know who they are. Some of them are amazing. Without some YouTubers, wasting time would not be as fun. But some influencers are just the rock bottom of the internet. And today, I think I really found the cesspit of the internet, the influencer who goes by the name Kristen Leo. She is like the evolved Pokemon who has vegan, BLM and ACAB in their Twitter bio. And today, I would like you to show what true ignorance looks and sounds like, even though I agree that people should recycle things and always put them into correct bins and not throw away things that work just fine, or that everybody should pay taxes in country where they live. When you look at her content on social media sites, it either seems like it's aimed at wannabe deep 14-year-olds or at smooth-brained fans of Greta Thunberg or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And there is also some fashion content, which is the least retarded one. First of all, let's take a look at her Instagram profile. It looks like standard weird-ass Instagram profile. But there is something which is just straight up cringe. And that is the section with BLM, section with the smiley face, and then something which I'm gonna talk about later. I'm not going to talk about all pictures in those sections, because if I did that, we would be here the whole week. Let's start with the BLM section. Capitalism equals racism. This is from 1972 and the anti-socialist propaganda created by the USA during the Cold War, and I post on US allies is still deeply installed into our psyche to this day. I used to support capitalism, but that was when I knew nothing about capitalism. Let's continue educating ourselves this week and keep amplifying black voices. Wow, you act like you know about capitalism now, which is untrue. That is really ironic. You act like capitalism and economical liberalism are racist. Fun fact, Marx called Slavs the race of subhumans. Stalin deported millions of people from Eastern Europe. Socialists are also notoriously known for anti-Semitism towards Jewish people. And also fun fact, the word Nazi stands for National Socialist, and Nazis are on the far left political spectrum, and we all know what Nazis thought of other races. So no, this point is completely retarded, and in a capitalistic country, anyone can become successful, regardless if you are born poor or rich, black or white, Asian, straight, bi or gay. It is not about cards you get, it is about how you can play with them. For example, a lot of rich people have humble backgrounds, but they could still play well with the cards and become successful. So capitalism is not racist, it is just propaganda of the Black Panther movements to make people think that capitalism is racist. Amateur looters, professional looters. This point is extremely ignorant, and this picture right here just proves that socialism and communism are just ideologies of people who are either too lazy to work hard enough in order to become successful, or are too stupid to understand how hard it is to be CEO of a company. If being a CEO is so easy, can you prevent collapse of company? Can you make your company profitable? If that answer is no, then these are probably not so easy jobs. Meanwhile, normal looters just rob and lit things on fire, which is easy. For white people who are asking, what can you do? Racial profiling and police brutality isn't only happening in the USA. Here in Europe, POC are faced with similar discrimination by the police. I don't know if we will ever see a day where racism is abolished, but here in Europe, as fascism and racially targeted violence rises, we need to be proactive and start by reforming laws and law enforcement so that POC don't have to live in constant fear of authority. That means not voting for right-wing parties or politicians. That means voting for drug legalization, as drugs are many times used as an excuse to search, frisk and harass POC, and also lobbying for police to reform and minimizing the power that they have over citizens. And again, not knowing facts, you act like being right-wing is the same thing as being racist. It is the same thing as if I said every social democrat is a Stalinist. Also, do you think legalizing hard drugs like heroin would be good? I get that, for example, weed is not much worse than normal smoking, but legalizing hard drugs is not normal. Also, before anyone says I'm racist, I would like to point out that there are a lot of attacks coming from African migrant gangs in countries such as UK, France or countries of Benelux. In some cases, it is police brutality, but in a lot of cases, it is really not. Then, you would minimize power of police to the point where they could not do anything, and that would lead to a rise of criminality and having no stable society. but I guess that is what far-left radicals want. Oops! Looks like you chose to post a black box last week and say #Blackout Tuesday, make sure to like and follow. Ooh! So I'll take it for granted that you're an anti-racist activist now and forever. You can't just be anti-racist on Tuesday and then pro-capitalist fashion influencer on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday by shilling out to promote corrupt racist brands like Nike, Adidas, H&M, Zara, Amazon, L'Oreal, Nestle, Unilever and literally every other white billionaire owned company that exists. Don't hesitate to DM me if you have a following and you want me to help you learn how to ethically use your influence. Do expect me to publicly call you out if you post a black box and you are not planning on doing anything else. And yes, the bias against rich white people again. If something is owned by white men who became billionaire, it is evil and racist and selfish. But do you realize that some billionaires are kind people? For example, Bill Gates is financing vaccines and toilets for Africans. How many poor Africans were saved by you? I think the number of those people is close to zero. Thinking of Angela Davis saying, I have a hard time accepting diversity as a synonym for justice. Diversity is a corporate strategy, and diversity without structural transformation simply brings those who were previously excluded into a system as racist, misogynist as it was before. And this thing is pissing me off the most. Angela Davis, the former member of Black Panther Party and American Communist, visited Czechoslovakia and other socialist countries where she was used as a tool of anti-American propaganda. When she was in Czechoslovakia, she did not try to free some political prisoners who were rotting in prison and sometimes in work camps for having different opinions, and then she just said that she was just influenced by propaganda. It is a real shame that we present communists as fighters for freedom when they do not really try to free someone facing real injustice. The cops had closed every street around us demonstrating and wouldn't allow us to march to the American embassy. So according to the Greek police, the American embassy is of course more important than the right of the Greek people to march. Our taxpayer euros are funding a system whose purpose is to exclusively protect the powerful. Cops are not paid to protect you. #ACAB. We cannot end racism or have climate justice or dismantle capitalism as long as there is a system in place that will terrorize us into submission with guns and violence. The police must be defunded globally. #ACAB. As I said before, do you want gangs violate you? Do you want to be gangbanged? Do you want to be robbed? This is what happens when you defund the police. And then, do you want your currency having no value? Everybody being the same, but being the same poor? I don't think so. This is what happens when I have socialism in our country. Now, we are moving to the section with the smiley face. And oh boy, let me tell you, it is something. What people think supermarkets would look like under socialism. No variety, only local products, few options. Nobody has to imagine this. It was like this in every socialist country. I am from Czechia and my parents have confirmed to me that socialist supermarkets sucked a lot. Having no variety was bad, because it was difficult to find alternatives to crappy version of something you liked. Also, I get that thought of having local products is nice, but do you really want to eat apples for only 3 months in a year and then just eat sauerkraut? I don't think so. What supermarkets actually look like under capitalism? Monopolies. Majority of products are either Unilever, Nestle or Kraft. Local companies are either bought out by multinational corporations that don't pay taxes or are unable to compete with the low prices of multinationals and go out of business. This photo is a perfect example of the formerly Greek brand Vidam that got bought out by multinational giant Unilever. Their products are almost on constant discount and pay the supermarket to take over the majority of the shelf space in order to outprice competing brands and eventually drive them out of business. Top to bottom stack in only Hellmann's by Unilever? Where are the local products? Where is the variety? This is the final result of capitalism. Survival of the richest, most aggressive also means domination of monopolies, rise in prices, and destruction of small businesses. You know what is ironic? The socialists complaining about monopoly. Because in socialism, you have only one brand, no other choices, literally nothing. because there is no competition in socialism. Also, have you heard about antitrust regulation? It's a handy little thing. Read about it. Also, there are farm markets with local food, which is kind of affordable. It's not the cheapest, but it's not bad, you know? So, this point is completely invalid. Also, the shot doesn't look very convincing because it's super narrow. And I think the purpose of those shots is to manipulate you into believing that capitalism is bad. You have freedom to starve. Capitalism is voluntary. Get bread or get dead. Sick! First thing first, you should work in order to become successful unless you are disabled in some way. And second of all, there is a thing called welfare state, you know? So this point is completely invalid. We need to normalize the idea that the profit, bigger than people ideology most multinational capitalist enterprises take part in is also a form of fascism. Industrialized polluting nations, climate change, developing countries, imposing polluted water, air and soil on humans, and as a result causing disease, more poverty and death is a form of terrorism in the name of profit. Okay, I get that some companies do fuck up when it comes to environment, but polluting water and stuff does not have to do anything with capitalism at all. And also, I see no connection between fascism and capitalism as far as we talk economy. Also, a lot of private companies do introduce a lot of ecological and cheap things first, thanks to the competition. If there are more companies competing, it is great, because you as a consumer get more innovation quickly. And you as a company need to innovate quick in order to survive and show it off to the world. It sounds like flexing, but that is the human nature everybody is talking about. Ever since the prehistorical times, everybody wanted to get the biggest piece of meat and had to think how to get it with minimal effort. So no, capitalism is not connected with pollution. You seem to forget that ecological catastrophes such as RLC, Chernobyl and even socialist farming were caused by incompetency of socialist economy. And speaking of socialist farming, it is still screwing up my country because those big ass fields cannot absorb rainwater. The water just slips and slides away because there is just dirt. So if anything, the socialist world would be one big ecological disaster. Guys mansplaining capitalism to me in DMs will be blocked. Heart emoji. Oh my god, this explains everything. It looks like that you cannot accept criticism from men that would tell you that socialism simply does not work. But what if women said that, huh? This is just the way telling us, I am Marxist and hate criticism and freedom of speech. Also, the last thing I want to mention about Instagram part as a whole segment of this video is that Kristen supports Hong Kong protesters. How somebody can support Hong Kong protesters and be Marxist at the same time is beyond me. I know that there is state capitalism in China, but do you think that free Hong Kong would adopt socialism? The answer is no, and it is really hypocritical from you to act this way. And by the way, you can say that a lot of companies do not treat their workers right, but it is not a problem of capitalism itself. It is just leftist propaganda trying to indoctrinate us with this lie. You were thinking that their Instagram was the biggest shitstorm in this video, but you're dead wrong. The Instagram part was just the beginning. The true pool of sass is your YouTube channel. I've especially chosen the video called All White People Are, because it has only one thought instead of thousands like her other videos. If I have chosen any other video from her, I would be here for the next year trying to explain why she is wrong. So, let's begin.
So in light of everything that's happening in the US, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about racism. I want to talk about white supremacy. I feel like it's something that has always been a part of the videos that I've made when it comes to brands and corporations and the way that they operate, which is oftentimes very racist. And I want to expand this conversation into more things that us white people can do in order to be better allies.
Okay, so first thing first, your face in this video in particular is super punchable. Second of all, you think that worker exploitation is connected with capitalism, which is connected with racism, which you know it's not the case. These companies are choosing those workers because they are cheap, not because the companies are racist. I'm not saying that this is right. It's probably not if this happens. But get your facts right. And third thing, you are probably one of those people that think that if person of color is fired from a job, it's because the company is racist. There's no other way, you know? You are probably one of those people that support Me Too movement, you know?
But in order to also not perpetuate the racism that is currently happening globally, this is not just an American issue. So yeah, let's just get into it. So I know this title is very inflammatory, and that's the purpose of it. Its purpose is to make you feel uncomfortable. If you are a white person and you feel attacked when you are told that you are a racist, then that is something that you personally need to explore more into why that makes you feel uncomfortable.
I know why this makes me uncomfortable. Whenever somebody wears blackface, even when it's just fun, you know, it's not meant as a racial slur or anything. You are labeled a racist. If you don't support BLM movement, you are racist. These people are labeling you racist for no damn reason, and that is what makes me uncomfortable.
But ultimately, it is a fact that racism is rampant, discrimination is rampant.
I know what kind of racism and discrimination is more and more rampant. It is something called positive discrimination, and that is a thing. Look it up.
And we have all participated in white supremacy. We have all benefited from it. And most of us have really done nothing to minimize our own privileges in order to elevate the privileges of those that barely have any. So I think it's important for all of us at this time to get educated.
You mean to get indoctrinated? Am I right, boys? And seriously, what kind of white privilege do I have? I live in Central Europe. There are hardly any black people, and those black people that are here are assimilated. They are just normal people right here. So tell me, what kind of privilege do I have?
About racism, about white supremacy, about white privilege, and the political and social impacts and economical impacts that all of this has on marginalized people, people of color. And I'm gonna get into why this is so important, because my first reaction when this whole movement happened in the United States was basically, why are so many people asking us to talk about it here in Europe? Here comes America again demanding our attention, because no attention is ever enough. Those were honestly my feelings in the beginning, but this is so much more than only an American problem.
White supremacy doesn't exist. It is a thing that was invented by far left in the USA. Second of all, you should care what happens in the country of your number one military ally, the leader of NATO, the number one most powerful economy. That's the reason why you should always care when something happens in US. Moving on.
This is something that is affecting people globally, and it also ties in with so many other problems that are things that I talk about, like sustainability, workers' rights, and human rights in general. I feel like a lot of white people that don't reside in the US or in countries that have been colonized or stolen.
Did you know that something similar to white supremacy was invented by left? It was called Aryan supremacy, and it was invented by left, you know? I'm just saying it as a fun fact of the day. And second of all, colonization is not as bad as a lot of far-left radicals are saying. They gave people some prototypes of normal human rights. You know, in India, wives were buried with their dead men. British removed that law, and that's a good thing. For example, other thing, the British people gave Indians trains, something that they use every day. And I don't think that the colonization is that bad, because thanks to the colonization, I can, for example, talk to people from other side of the planet because they know the English, thanks to the colonization. So no, colonization is not bad.
Don't feel like this is as much of an issue. In reality, here in Europe, obviously racism exists. Another thing is that even though police brutality is definitely not as terrible as it is in the United States, it still very much happens here in Europe as well. And I'm definitely thinking about making a video where I exclusively talk about police brutality and also the military, so I'm not really gonna dive into that topic in today's video. One question that I was asked was, why should we, here in Greece, for example, care about just this random black man that was executed by a cop in the United States? I am white, and wherever I go in the world, I'm still gonna be white. So the fact that I am not a white supremacist, the fact that I am not a cop that kills Black people is only something that has been afforded to me through being born in a predominantly white country.
What a bullshit logic. You know, if you are born in, for example, US, you must become a cop. Second of all, you act like all cops on the whole damn world are racist. And the third thing, how do you, for example, benefit from being white in countries like Japan or Korea? Tell me.
If I either moved to America, if my parents never moved to Greece and I was born there and raised there, how can I be sure that I would not be one of them? How can I be sure that I would not be the one with my knee on a Black person's neck?
Okay, so this person acts like every white American is racist, or that every American cop is racist, serving capitalist pigs around the whole USA. This point right here is super strange. I don't know why being American would make you racist, or being a cop would make you like a killer of Black people or something.
The fact that I am not American does not mean that I have not been afforded more privileges globally that I can exploit than Black people have, or other people of color. This is about the uniform that we all wear, and some people are just given a uniform that allows them to have way more privileges than other people have. And to those that are not afforded white privilege, this is a uniform that they cannot take off.
Here it is, boys and girls, Caucasian bad. You know, I've been waiting for this moment the whole video, and here it finally is.
They are forced to experience this lack of privilege. They are forced to experience police brutality. They are forced to experience racism. It's not a choice. The other reason why these protests that are happening in the United States are very important for all of us globally is because the United States, because of the power that it has, because of the wealth that it has and the influence that it has globally, they have been the ones that really have pioneered a lot of social justice movements.
So Kristen right here just assumes that every person of color is facing police brutality or oppression by default. No exceptions, guys. Everywhere in the world, when there is a person of color facing oppression. Second thing, a lot of social justice movements pioneered by the US people were making sense, you know? Remember that feminism used to make sense? Now it doesn't make sense, you know?
And they are a country that everyone is always observing, that everyone is always paying attention to. And this is why they are the ones that are really the most capable to start a revolution against the violation of human rights, against racism, even against capitalism, which ties in very closely with white supremacy and with racism.
Another BLM eat the rich type of cringe moment in this video. Disclaimer, guys, capitalism is not racist. It's just a propaganda, you know. But I said it so many times that I'm starting to sound retarded even to myself, because I am repeating myself over and over. It's not even funny.
This is the time to support the Americans that are intelligent and educated enough to stand up against their own system of white supremacy, of global oppression that the USA has partaken in.
Super marxist moment right here, you know, guys. And I don't know what to say anymore. This is the person that Soviet propaganda from 1950s could have only dreamed about, you know. It is mind-blowing, but also super sad at the same time.
And I think it's very important for all of us to support that and to stand in unity with that, because everyone globally benefits from a less violent America, from a less racist America, from a less patriarchal and white supremacist and fascist America.
Okay, I know that democracy in your mind equals fascism, but how is my country remotely similar to the USA? We have parliamentarian democracy. We have different type of laws. I don't know how is my country remotely similar to the USA. We have almost nothing in common, guys. But I guess the one thing we have common is that our country, you know, is full of capitalist, supremacist pieces of shit.
The United States has consistently from the moment that it was stolen from Native Americans, been a very violent country, a very imperialist country that has created a lot of political instability globally. It's been a country that has funded literal terrorist groups that have caused havoc in Europe.
First thing first, it's called the survival of the fittest, aka in this case most advanced. Second of all, have you heard about Red Army Fraction, which was heavily connected with Eastern Germany? Actually, a lot of members of this organization were operating from Eastern Germany, but I guess it doesn't fit in your narrative.
That have created millions of war refugees. So this is not an issue that we should be taking lightly. I think this is a moment for all of us to start speaking out, for all of us to start supporting the Americans that are revolting against this very fascist government. And I also think that us on social media have a duty at this time to stand in solidarity, to speak up, and to also not colonize this movement, but to instead amplify Black voices and to support the people that are really leading this movement and to not try and make it about us.
Okay, so I get it. Everything that is a little bit on the right spectrum from extreme Marxism is fascist. Second thing, you are actually hurting Black people because everybody will think that Black people are retarded Marxist people, so that will hurt them in the long run. So thank you, Kristen, for this shit.
Because that's something that all of us really have a difficulty understanding and doing. So I'm gonna get a little bit more into the thoughts that I've had about everything that's been happening since Monday. I've literally just had my face glued on Instagram and on TikTok, which for me have been the best sources of information because the news are really doing a fantastic job at just either complaining about the vandalism or the riots or showing footage of cops being allies or just really touching the bare surface of this movement.
Wow. Imagine calling Instagram and TikTok the reliable resource. You know, you actually touch this movement lightly too. You didn't realize how dangerous is it for democratic society to have movements such as Black Lives Matter, you know? It's anti-democratic. Everything that is kinda anti-capitalistic is in my eyes anti-democratic. And I can say that because my country was suffering from socialist pieces of garbage like you for 41 years. So shut the fuck up.
And the reason why all of this is happening, and not diving deep into the structural problems in America that are causing all of this to happen. A few of the complaints that I've seen a lot of people make about this movement is that they are destroying private property, which again, it's putting value on property instead of focusing on the value of human lives.
Okay, I don't know how it is in your country, but media all around the world are saying how BLM is good and how BLM is doing things right. But I never heard any news outlet saying how BLM is already damaging economy. And that is what they want. They want chaos. They want chaos so they can install Marxism in country where they operate, in this case United States.
Another thing is I found a ton of Black activists on Instagram. They have a really insightful understanding of what is happening and what needs to be done to fix it.
They don't know what needs to be fixed, you know? It's like if I said, guys, I know how to solve economical crisis.
And a lot of them are speaking about how there is an interconnection between capitalism and white supremacy and racism. It's really hard to actually put value on human lives under a system like capitalism.
This shit right here is literally like saying, guys, I believe Nazis, they really do understand how Jews are bad, you know, how Jews are literally damaging the whole fucking world.
That values profit over people. This essentially means that in a world where money is valued, the rich are valued, the poor are considered lesser than.
Okay, so the thing where the rich people think that poor people are lesser than them is a Marxist propaganda, you know. I've never seen a rich person that would say, guys, look at this poor person, he's literally fucking subhuman.
And the people that tend to be poorer are the people that have suffered from colonialism, from slavery, from white supremacy. So the people that have less money are pretty much always people of color.
And maybe it is because that some people of color, white people as well, don't have good work ethic. What a shocker! And second thing, there are a lot of rich Asians, a lot of rich black people, so this point is completely invalid.
So that is a very interesting point that was made. One thing that really bothered me was the whole hashtag Blackout Tuesday thing on Instagram, where a lot of people just posted a black box and a little hashtag and just went on with their regular posting. Just in and of itself, I don't really agree with the whole turning movements about human rights into content, into a meme. It's essentially just turning something into an Instagram trend where you just post a black box and you're like, hashtag Black Lives Matter and hashtag Blackout Tuesday.
Yes, I hate that thing too, you know, because it's hypocritical, just like you.
And just have no idea what that means.
It means supporting undemocratic movement.
You have no idea what you should actually be doing after you post that box.
They should yeet themselves out of window.
Personally, I didn't do it because I thought it was pointless.
Finally, some sensible thing that I've heard from this video.
What I've been doing is I haven't been posting anything on my feed. I don't want to take up any space. I want to allow the black activists to be able to have that news feed on Instagram available to them.
Yes, you know, according to this type of logic, only black people can talk about BLM and post bullshit about BLM. Am I right, guys?
Without me taking up any space in there, I've just been posting on my stories. I was incredibly disappointed with some people that I know personally that literally use this as an excuse to get more likes, that were literally asking their audience to go and like their hashtag Blackout Tuesday post, in which they did not discuss anything about racism in that post. It's just the generic white person description box where it's just like, wah, racism is so bad. Oh my God, I can't believe that so many people are racist. This is terrible. Hashtag Blackout Tuesday. Make sure to like and follow because I'm not a racist.
Without that type of follow stuff and get a like stuff, you are describing yourself, you know?
It really was just a trend for a lot of people. They posted a black box and then they went and continued on with their regular posting for that day without even doing the minimum amount of work that was required through participating in posting that black box, which is not posting anything for the day.
Yes, the whole thing was just marketing. And I think that was the point for some people. And I don't honestly blame them, you know, it's really good marketing strategy. Why do you think so many people are doing those Pride Month things, you know?
And sitting down and learning about racism.
You should actually sit down and learn about stuff because you don't understand economy, racism, and politology at all.
These influencers have perpetually supported brands that are what I can only describe as terrorists. I think if any brand is destroying the environment for indigenous populations, that is participating in labor exploitation of people of color, where they are not allowed to unionize, they are not allowed to even have bathroom breaks in some occasions, they are working in unsafe buildings, have unsafe working conditions in general, their wages are incredibly low to an inhumane level. How can you be supporting these brands? How can you be taking this blood money that has been created through the exploitation of people of color, through the destruction of the environment, and then just come on your social media and say racism is bad?
Okay, companies, they do fuck up when it comes to this, you know? Second thing, you should never forget that it's not because capitalism. Capitalism doesn't have to do anything with that when you look at the economical concept of capitalism, because so many people are blaming capitalism for this because they don't understand capitalism or it doesn't fit in their narrative, such as in this case.
If you can empathize with racism to even to a small degree, like why are you even contributing to it continuing to exist? Why are you supporting the brands that are literally racist?
These brands are not racist, they just use cheap workers, you know? Cheap labor, have you heard about that? Probably yes, but you have to connect it with racism so it fits in your narrative.
that have had multiple racist scandals. Where is this cognitive dissonance coming from? Why are you unable to see the fact that you are part of the problem? And another thing that a lot of people have been pointing out is that you can't just not be racist, you have to be anti-racist. And that means, basically, refusing to profit off of brands and off of companies that build their wealth through racism, through labor exploitation.
Companies do fuck up, like I said a lot of times in this video. But you have to understand that it's not because racism, they just use the cheap labor.
I'm not going to discuss any more of this because I want to make a specific separate video about influencers and about the fashion industry and racism within that field, because it's something that I have been in for the last 10 years of my life, and I feel like it's very important to discuss that. So yeah, what I want to do now is show you some things that I found on Instagram that I thought were noteworthy and kind of discuss them a little bit with y'all. So one post is by Africa Brooke, and it says, being liked is not a priority right now. This is so important. I have some friends that have been very much speaking out about this, sharing a lot of content, a lot of educational content, amplifying Black voices, etc. And they've lost a lot of followers. I think it needs to be noted that if you do start speaking up about this, you are gonna ruffle quite a few feathers, and a lot of people are gonna disagree with you, a lot of people are gonna unfollow you, but it's exactly what this post says. This is not the time for us to waste energy thinking about who likes us and who doesn't. It's about standing up to what's right. Do you want to be on the side of history that sides with oppression? Or do you want to be on the right side of history? Really. So one YouTube channel that I've been watching for quite a while is called For Harriet. I highly recommend you subscribe. I'm going to link it in the description box below. Kimberly, that runs that channel, has been very vocal about the fact that Black female voices are kind of erased. I mean, obviously Black women have to not only deal with racism, but also the patriarchy.
Finally, a feminist cringe man bad moment, you know? Patriarchy in 21st century surely does exist, you know? It's completely true. It's completely not a hoax, guys. Disclaimer, it is.
So not as much importance has been put on the female victims of police brutality. So yeah, that's definitely one thing that we do have to keep in mind. And also, For Harriet posted on her Instagram, if you are trying to have a conversation about white supremacy that is divorced from anti-capitalism, you're wasting your time.
I am surely wasting my time. For example, making this video because some people have IQ of fucking ape, you know? Because they are too dumb to realize that other economical concepts, such as socialism, what a shocker, are connected with racism. For example, National Socialism, guys. Have you heard about that thing? I'm sure you have not, because you are keep talking this bullshit over and over.
And the caption says, burn it all down.
This just proves that BLM is a movement that wants chaos.
The Black women that have been speaking out during this time have inspired me as well to speak more against capitalism.
Kristen is just flexing on us that she is the final anti-man BuzzFeed feminist.
I feel like I have tried my best to ease all of you into my anti-capitalist philosophy, but at this point I'm not interested in slowly feeding some concepts to my audience. My content is going to be a lot more political because I have learned a lot during these last 5 years, and I don't think there's any point for me anymore to talk to my audience like they're kids. I feel like you're grown. I feel like you have the guts to take the truth.
Actually, I am a big boy because I can recognize socialist bullshit whenever I hear it.
And whoever doesn't, to be kind of honest, I don't care. Like the time of me trying to exploit this platform in order to build an audience and exploit entertainment and fashion and aesthetics in order to build an audience on my channel, that time is over. Now it's time to really speak up. It's time to take part in this movement. It's time to stand in solidarity, especially for me, women of color. and to let them lead and to learn from them and to take everything that I learn and share it with you. So yeah, just be prepared. This is not gonna be a fun place anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry also.
She is just saying that her channel will be a complete pool of cess. A pool of fucking garbage.
Another post on Instagram that I found very interesting was by subversive.thread, and it says, white settler colonialism and capitalism are destroying the planet, not poor, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. This is very important because this is something that, again, does not only apply to America, here in Greece as well. A lot of nationalist and fascist Greeks, they like to perpetuate the idea that basically immigrants are the ones to blame for the financial problems that Greece has, which is so removed from the truth. From the moment that immigrants in this country are pretty much holding less than 1% of the wealth here, whereas the multinational businesses and corporations that have invaded this country and are on a daily basis just draining the country out of money, destroying local businesses, they're not really looking at the H&Ms, the Zaras, the Ikeas, but instead they're focusing on the people of color that have immigrated to this country that are literally not even making any money here and blaming everything on them.
Yes, migrants are not inherently bad. I agree with that. But I don't agree that all companies destroy environment. It's not true. That's also far from truth.
It also says 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions. For all of us that are also interested in the environment, this is an important fact to take note of. Another thing is that indigenous people make up less than 5% of the planet's human population, yet they are protecting 80% of its biodiversity, which is the reason why it's so important to protect indigenous people instead of try to erase them. Another slide says the world's richest 10% produce half of global carbon emissions, while the poorest half contribute only 10%. Another thing that we need to take note, because a lot of people that do belong in the richest 10% like to blame the poorest populations for reproducing and having children and kind of blaming them for the environmental crisis.
Have you heard about overpopulation? It is bad for the planet because there would be too many people on planet if there was overpopulation. Okay, I'm not trying to say that all rich people are right, okay? But they have point when it comes to this.
The world's wealthiest 16% use 80% of the planet's natural resources. Another Instagram page that I follow, No White Saviors, posted this. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing.
How dare you to quote one of the biggest racists of all time, Malcolm X? Maybe you have double standards.
This is one thing that I've seen heavily on social media, people defending the police through saying things like, oh, it's their fault because they are resisting arrest. They didn't move their head fast enough to avoid the non-lethal bullet. They are the ones going to the protest, so they should deal with the consequences of that. I see this very prominently when people defend the rich, and especially billionaires. Every time that I've spoken out against rich people, I always get comments of people just supporting them, saying like they worked hard to make that money. You're just complaining because you're jealous. This is a mentality of defending literally your oppressors. These people do not give a crap about you. Then through their actions and through the ways that they build their wealth, they kind of have made it perfectly clear that they don't give a crap about any of us. We are just human capital to them. And instead of standing up against these people that are literally hoarding wealth, you choose to side with them and support them, even though you are not part of them, which I found very interesting.
I don't understand this. Why every white billionaire must be racist according to these people? It's stupid logic, you know. White people rich? Bad.
So yeah, that's it for today. I hope that you got some value from this video.
There wasn't any value in this video. It was just straight up lies for 90% of the time.
Another thing is, if I have used any vocabulary in this video that is not politically correct or inappropriate, Definitely feel very comfortable to correct me in the comments below. I have no issue. I will not be offended. I am a English speaker, but I'm born and raised in Greece, so my vocabulary is not always up to date to what is the correct terms to be used.
Okay, so you are probably one of those people that think that the word spokesman is bad and that company is sexist when they don't use the word spokesperson.
So yeah, definitely feel free to do that in the comments. Also, a huge thank you to all of my patrons for supporting this channel. The YouTube monetization thing has not been doing great lately, so I am heavily dependent on Patreon to keep making these videos. So I very much appreciate your support, and I'm gonna see y'all soon. Bye.
Anybody noticed how much he hates capitalism but doesn't hesitate to use things such as Patreon? Interesting thing, right guys? You have made it to the end. You're a fucking beast. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. This video took me a lot of time. Shout out to my man Teodor because he gave me this footage of him playing Call of Duty. His channel will be linked down in the description. And please like this video, share it and subscribe. It will help me grow as a content creator. Thank you so much for watching and goodbye.